Timing, timing, timing. That's all I ever hear people talk about, right? If it's a bad hit to the pull side, hey, you were early. If I foul it off that way, hey, you're late. If I foul it straight back, hey, your timing's just off. You're really close, right? Timing, timing, timing. How important is timing? How do you measure timing? Is timing really the end all be all? If I'm on time but I don't have a good swing, can I still hit, right? If I have a good swing but I'm not on time, can I still hit? What is the answer, right? So I hear this all the time. I have a lot of younger hitters that come in and they complain about timing. They say their coach says this about their timing, says that about their timing, but never really has any answer of like, how am I going to work on my timing? So I just wanted to make a video how I see timing, the concept of it, how I kind of see from a measurement standpoint to tell, hey, are we on time? Are we not on time? You know, is it even something that we need to be focused on, or is it kind of a byproduct of doing other things? And so just kind of wanted to dive in, so let's hop into it. So one of the biggest problems I hear from high school down, even into college at certain levels, is I hit the fast pitching okay, but I don't hit the slow pitching good. I always hear that, which too, one, my argument is the pitching wasn't that fast. But anyways, they hit the pitching that's a little bit faster, a little bit quicker to home plate better than they hit the slow pitching, right? The changeups, the curveballs, the kid that comes in throwing really slow, loopy, right? Everybody says that they struggle with that, right? So one of the biggest things that I like to talk about with these hitters is one, I usually start with a question like, okay, well, how can you tell if you're on time? And they always say, well, I pulled everything. Or, hey, I fouled everything oppo, right? And that tells me if I'm on time. Well, then I usually combat them with this. Okay, well, what if I'm early, but I'm like this, right? So I'm hitting the ball way out front, but my barrel's back here. Where do you think the ball will go? Well, it'll go oppo. And I'm like, okay, well, then how would you know if you're early? If you hit the ball oppo, but you hit the ball way out front, and then that usually starts to get them thinking, and then they start asking me questions, right? And so when I look at timing, I see it way more complex and three-dimensional than most people would talk about it. I think one, you got the timing of your move. I think you got timing of you and the ball, right? And I think that you have the timing that you need to match between you and the pitcher, right? So everybody has a move, right? Whether it's a big leg kick, whether it's just a heel pickup, whether it's a no stride, right? So your timing matters a lot because you're trying to do your move, your timing, with what the pitcher does, which can be different, right? They could have a long, slow delivery. They could be up over the top, sidearm. They could be herky-jerky. They could be lefty, righty, right? They could throw multiple speeds, multiple pitches. You know, all these different things can affect their timing, right? And so not only does my timing change based on the move I do, their timing change based on the move they do, and then also how hard the ball's coming. So then too, in relation to me and the ball, how much space there is, there's a timing there, right? So not only do I think that timing is very dynamic and hard to measure, because of that, I think it's something that is often a cop-out for a lot of coaches, and me included at times, when we don't necessarily know what to say or we're trying to disarm the situation with the hitter, is we always love to blame timing. Timing, timing, timing. Oh, my timing was just off. My timing was just early. My timing was just late, right? And so one of the biggest things that I feel that tends to happen is when we don't know what to say, we blame it on timing, right? And so we started kind of addressing this with some of my hitters, right? Is okay, well, if it was my timing, how can I tell if I made an adjustment? Okay, so simply we just got into a state of, well, we got to be able to measure. We got to be able to see the difference, right? If I said I was early, how can I tell if I'm late? Is it point of contact according to the plate? Is it point of contact according to me? Is it where the ball goes, etc., right? So a lot of times what we do is we make a little grid. We go, you know, like this, and we also go like this across the plate, and then there's different numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right, we'll look at video, right, and we say, okay, well, I was early because I hit it out in a 1, but I want to hit it at like a 4, right? And we can start doing timing like that. We can also talk about, hey, there's timing when you start your move versus when the pitcher or the machine, whoever's feeding, starts to move, right? So I have the timing of when I start my move, right? So my gather, we call this. I also have the timing of when I get to my launch, right? So there's timing there, because one of the biggest things I see is everybody just blankets timing. But then too, I have some hitters that they may start on time, right? But then they have this really big move, right? And so they start at this time where, hey, the pitcher creates separation, right? And they get this move to start at the, you know, right time. But then because their move's so long and they have this long dragged out move, that they actually get to their launch position at a later point in time, which then too, not only does that affect their opinion or how they would measure timing, but then too, then it kind of changes the whole concept entirely. So, what is timing? Are we talking about timing of when they start the move, when they get down, when they get the barrel to contact? What is timing to them, I think is a really, really important topic. And so we usually address that first, and then we kind of go into, is timing even that important to talk about first and foremost, or is it more of a byproduct of other things? All right, so obviously you got a weight room, right? And so this is where I was saying this is something that can really, really, really influence how hitters can maintain direction or work on their timing without even being in the cage, okay? So you see a lot of different weight rooms, some with a lot of racks, some with a lot of dumbbells, some with a lot of open space, some with sleds, some with all of them, right? So one of the biggest things that I see in our space is everybody wants to build shortstops. Well, shoot, everybody wants to be a shortstop, right? Everybody wants to be the guy, the one out there that's bouncing around, making all the plays, looking athletic. But then the issue is, right, if you really think about it, right, how many shortstops are the best hitters of all time, right? And so there's some really great shortstops that have really good years and really good seasons and have had really good careers. But again, how many of those are really the best hitters of all time if you could think about it? Typically, that's not how it works, right? And there's a lot of reasons which I can go into a little bit later on. But the biggest thing that I see is everybody wants to build shortstops. And what I mean by that is we do box jumps, right? We do bounds, we do skips, we do, banded shuffles, we do banded sprints, and we do all of those here as well, right? We want to build athletes. We want people that can be versatile, that can make good plays, that can run, do all these different things. That's super valuable. One of the skills I think is very underdeveloped in the weight room is isometrics and your ability to stabilize a joint through different positions and closer to end ranges, which is really important, which I'll dive into how that affects the hitters in the box here next. So there's gonna be a lot of strength coaches and PTs and people out there that know what an isometric is, but there's a lot of basic, like just baseball coaches, like high school, youth, college, that don't even know what an isometric is. And an isometric is, just to keep it super simple, is just basically you holding position. So like if I were to get to a position like a lunge, right, and I were to hold this position for 15, 20 seconds, this is an isometric contraction, right? Me getting into a particular position where, I'm in hip flexion, hip extension in the other leg, right? I'm at the end range where, one of my, my muscles is really stretched, another one's really contracted, and I'm learning how to stabilize that joint in that position, right? And I think that's really, really important for younger hitters to understand, is how to hold positions, because that is one of the biggest things I see as an issue in the cage, or just up at the plate in general, is kids that can't hold positions typically struggle with timing more, right? And the reason that is if I can't stay in posture, right, then people that throw balls down in the zone, I'm gonna keep standing up and pulling off of them. Or if I can't stay in my front hip and I just keep spinning open, well, then my barrel is gonna come left really early. I'm not gonna be able to stay through it really long, which is going to affect my direction, right? So then timing becomes this issue. Oh, it's just timing, it's just timing, it's just timing. Well, is it just timing, or can I just not hold positions, right? Maybe too, if we combine the two, maybe I need to work on holding positions for a longer period of time. And if I can do that, my timing will get better, right? So that's one of the biggest things in the weight room, right? And we'll do stuff super simple. I'm not gonna go super in depth. It's like, we'll do rotations with like a 2-3 second hold, and just teaching that joint how to stabilize and hold that position for 2-3 seconds. Sometimes we can literally just do this and just hold 15-20 seconds, rotate, hold at the bottom of a lunge, right? All these different positions, a hinge, an RDL, hold a weight, learn how to hold in this position for 15-20 seconds, and just teaching that joint to stabilize for longer periods of time, teaching these athletes not only how to create stability in the weight room, but to also hold positions when they're in the batter's box, in game, in the cage, and training too. So to kind of wrap this up, I think timing is a really complex topic to talk about. One, are you talking about the timing of which they start? Are you talking about the timing of which they get to launch? Are you talking about timing of them to the ball and them to the pitcher? You're talking about timing or sequencing of how quickly the barrel gets out or doesn't get out, length of swing, right? All that stuff can go into timing, right? And when people just blanket term timing, I think it's too broad to actually come to a conclusion, especially for most of these kids that don't even know what you're really talking about, and then giving zero application to go actually work on this. And so a lot of times too, I like giving stuff that these kids can actually see the difference. Like could you do an isometric for 10 seconds this week and then 20 next week? And if you can, that's gonna help you hold positions longer, which is gonna benefit you when you're trying to get to those same positions in the cage, right, which you keep coming out of right now. So it's gonna benefit you from there. It's also, we're gonna talk about direction. It's like, okay, well, how far out front can you still hit a ball back through the middle, right? If you are early, does everything get snap, hook, pull side, or does it stay through the middle, right? When you feel like you're out front on something slow, can you hit it right back to the machine or back to the pitcher, right? So I like giving a lot of these different things that you can kind of measure or see a little bit more, and you can feel and you can tell anecdotally, did I make a good adjustment or did I not? Because a lot of times, you know, when you just say timing, a lot of these kids, and you know, it's very common because it is such a complex topic that they don't even know if they made a good adjustment or not. So you know, going into the timing and how it all applies, I think there's a really, really big, you know, complex conversation that needs to be had on timing and what it really is and how it's affected. And I think there's a lot of, you know, historical opinions and feelings that people are going to argue about when it comes to timing. So I think it's really hard to dive into. But I think one of the biggest things has really helped a lot of my hitters take this to the field and take this to the game and kind of detach from thinking, oh, my timing this, my timing that, but still get results, is to just simply work on their direction. When they see slow pitching, what cues, what feels, what thoughts help me maintain my direction through the middle, help me hold positions longer, which gives me a more adjustable swing. So when I am a little early, because it's going to happen no matter how much you work on timing, it's going to happen. I'm going to be early sometimes. Can I stay through the ball? Can I stay on that pitch just long enough to get a hit a double, hit it back through the middle, whatever that result may be, rather than having to be perfectly on time all the time? And I especially think that that's a very bad plan of action, to go up to the plate expecting to have to be on time all the time, because it's literally everybody's job on the other team to get you off time. From the pitcher to the coaches calling pitches to the whole team 9-on-1, the umpire's zone, everything's trying to get you off time. So I think it's a pretty you know, loaded plan against the hitter, is to have to be on time all the time. So I think, you know, planning to have good direction, good spacing, which we didn't talk about spacing in this video, but having good direction can really help address the issues with slow pitching and how to stay on it. And so, as always, if there's any further questions, feel free to reach out. But you know, that's timing, that's direction. Those are some of the ways and the ideas of how I see it, how I see to train it, where I see it going wrong, and how we can help kind of, you know, further this conversation moving forward to help these athletes better understand how to hit slow pitching.